when you focus on only making a profit, it's so narrow-minded. It's so silly because it's almost insulting that if your entire focus is just making money. It's hard for people to get excited about you and want to be a part of of your business when that's your focus. And I'll give you a great example. We were doing store checks yesterday. I drove to San Antonio we have this company has, I'm so fortunate. We are so set up right now. We have 3 people. Their only job is to maintain our current restaurants. That's all they do. And we have a budget well over $1 million maintaining those restaurants. And I took 2 of the guys with me and we drove to San Antonio. And I mean, they got out and snapping pictures and writing, taking notes to every little detail, to things that I could barely see. They were noticing. And a customer walked up and said, "Are you involved with Pete Terry's?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am. I'm the owner. I'm Patrick Terry." And she could not have been nicer. She's not going to do that if she's having a bad experience. Listen, we all draw the line. I mean, you could meet me and be excited about me, but if the food sucks at Pete Terry's or the service sucks at Pete Terry's, you don't want to meet me.
Right.
You got nothing to say to me. At least nothing good. And so every compliment I take for the business, I realize it's because of those guys behind the counter.
What up, Unstoppables? We have a great episode today, but real quick, we want to invite you to make the most important investment of your life. It's not a secret. There's no smoke and mirrors. I'm not even trying to pull a fast one on you. I'm going to be pretty straightforward. The best investment you can make in your life is in yourself. And the best way to invest in yourself is by investing in your network, putting time and energy, surrounding yourself with the best. You are the average of those you surround yourself with. In that Restaurant Unstoppable network, I made it easy. Over the past 12 years and 1,200 plus episodes, I've been researching and talking to people and trying to figure out how do you become successful in the restaurant industry. And I've curated a network of tools, services, technologies, and individuals, experts that I would go to tomorrow if I'm opening a restaurant. And I'm bringing you to that network with live events, whether it be a workshop, a mentoring session, a power hour, or access to me twice a month where I just listen and steer you in the right direction, all happening at Restaurant Unstoppable Network. Head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/live. You also get this amazing access to all the recordings, RU Network podcast, which includes bonus ad-free and early release content. It also gives you access to our Unstoppabot. It is a custom AI agent that is fed with 1,200 plus transcripts, over 2,400 hours of transcripts plus bonus content, all cross-referenced with our database. This is a powerful AI tool that you also get access to as well. What are you waiting for? Head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/live and we'll see you there. This episode made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, CEO and co-founder of Pete Terry's, Patrick Terry. Welcome back on the show for a second time, man. Are you feeling unstoppable?
Thank you. I am so glad to be here on what are we, Thursday morning?
Thursday morning. Don't ask me, man.
I know. It's all kind of a dream.
Oh man, you guys are killing it. The last time I was here, it was 2020. It was just before the pandemic. I think it was January I interviewed you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was minutes.
Time was
before.
good, man. Yeah. Things were good. 2020 was going to be our year, wasn't it?
It was. The numbers were all lined up. It's true.
Yeah. So that was episode 691. I've almost doubled the amount of episodes I put out since I last spoke to you, and you've more than doubled the amount of locations you have since I last spoke to you.
Yeah, we have. We've been on a run the last few years. It's been great.
So you were at 15 locations. And you had just opened your 16 out of the Austin market, and today you're at 36 locations.
Right.
We're going to kind of unpackage more about where you are today, but before we dive in, let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
I'm going to tell you that after 20 years of doing this, because we're celebrating our 20th anniversary this July, that the phrase that I live by every day is better to be loved. Because I think that if you're going to build a brand and you're going to spend your life doing it, or at least a portion of your life doing it, and you're going to ask, in our case, 1,000 employees to join with you in this cause. The way this is a game of odds. You're trying to increase your odds every day on improving your business and improving your sales. How do I increase my odds? How do I take as less risk out of this proposition as I can? And the truth is, it's not enough for people to like your brand. It is. It's just too easy to unlike it or dislike it. But once you love something, it's harder to walk away. So I'll give you a perfect example. If people love P. Terry's at Lamar and Barton Springs, our first location, and we're up against, on the other side of the street, McDonald's, Jack in the Box, Wendy's, Taco Bell, Taco Cabana, and next to us, Schlotzsky's. So we have a 527 square foot building with 2 drive-throughs and a patio and the tiniest bathrooms you've ever seen. If you're going to go up against those guys and their marketing dollars, and they're at the time, dollar menu.
This time it was 2005.
Yeah, 2005. There's a dollar menu. There's, Jack in the Box has got 3 tacos for whatever. And you're selling a quality proposition. And so although your prices are incredibly low for what we're serving, they're not always going to run against a promotion against the big guy who can absorb anything.
Right.
I mean, at least a lot. People have to love you. And you survive through COVID. You survive through supply chain issues. You survive through the mistakes that you just make in life and your employees make. You survive that way by having people love you. And so the way we endured ourselves to the public, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too much about this.
No.
We endured ourselves to the public. Number one, they saw my wife and I every day in that burger stand, literally working our asses off. Literally frantic to get everything right and to apologize when we got it wrong. They started rooting for us because they saw what we were trying to achieve. And once you have a customer that's actually rooting for you, we're in a different league. And a lot of it is the credit of the people of South Austin who, in 2025, it kind of represented the old Austin, and it was a very laid back community. And so once you get to that level, and they see how genuine this proposition is, you do become unstoppable. You really do. I mean, those restaurants that I pointed out to you, they're all gone.
Right.
Every one of those is gone. And
is McDonald's still there? That was the last one hanging on.
McDonald's is gone.
Oh.
And now I'm not
when
sure.
we last spoke to you, that was the last sole survivor.
And I'm not sure they'll rebuild or not. The lot's been empty for a year or two, but in Austin, you never know about permits. But the whole point is that if you can take that culture to the next store and to the next store, then you can survive a lot.
Yeah. So you said lead with love. Is that how you started it?
Yeah. I believe that. Yes, that you have to lead with love. That love is your ultimate goal.
Yeah. So when you're a man of consistency. I'll give you that. I don't know if you caught the recording of our first episode. The clip we used was you got to make people love you. It's
how
enough.
funny.
It's not enough that the little teaser, it's not enough to get people to like you got to make people love you.
That hasn't changed, you know, and I'm sorry to be repetitive, but it's just really the mantra.
Yeah.
We do it every day.
And the quote you used to get the pop off the first one was just do the right thing.
Yeah.
And doing the right thing is loving people. And you love people with your actions.
Yeah.
I asked you in the first episode, how do you get people to love you? And you said you give them smoothies or whatever, not smoothies.
The milkshakes?
Milkshakes. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You give them milkshakes, right? But I think you also get people to love you by giving love.
Oh, absolutely. I think, I may have even mentioned it because I'm pretty consistent in how I think the last time. But, you can't fool dogs and you can't fool kids. And there's just an instinct, and when I see a car pull up at one of our stores and the doors open and the kids are running to the door, I know that we've hit the mark.
I love it, man. Awesome. Great way to get this thing started. So let's get some more context in terms of, this is something I'm trying to be better about as a host, really diving into where you are today, painting that picture so we can reverse engineer how you got here over the past 5 years. So 15 locations, just opened your 16th location, and so far away. San Marcos, I think, was the first market outside of Austin that you went to. Today, you're at how many total locations?
We're at 36. We've just opened our second location in the Houston area.
Okay.
So what we were trying to achieve is to be in 3 major markets: Houston, San Antonio, and Austin.
Yep.
And concentrate on that triangle. And so our future is in Houston. We have half a dozen stores in the San Antonio area, and the rest in Central Texas and on the way to San Antonio. But now we're going to spend the next few years in Houston.
So how many total units do you have in Austin right now?
Well, we have approximately in the Austin area around 15. But,
15.
we're in the suburbs as well,
right?
Which are sometimes hard to tell.
So the Austin metropolitan, like the surrounding area.
We have around 20.
Around 20.
Yeah.
And then does that include San Marcos?
Probably not.
Okay. Yeah. And then how many locations do you have in Houston right now?
Just 2.
Just 2? How many? And so that's 22. Where are the other locations?
So we're along the highway, Kyle, San Marcos, New Braunfels, on the way to San Antonio. And then we're on the outskirts like Pflugerville, Cedar Park, Dripping Springs, Georgetown. So Lakeway, Westlake. Technically, those are outside of Austin area. In the heart of Austin, I'm right central. We probably have around a dozen. I mean, I have 3 stores on in a 4-mile radius, because we were Barton Springs, and then we went down by campus.
Okay,
and then we went a little bit further down on Lamar, which is and what we've always tried to do is. There's kind of replicating Starbucks. If this store is busy, then we go 3 miles down the street and open another one. And I never had any kind of interest in going to Denver or going to Miami. As sexy as that may sound, I didn't think it was practical. And if I could go 3 miles down the street and open up another successful P. Terry's, why would I go 300 miles?
Yeah. I mean, you're taking the centrifugal circle approach of just start like, and honestly, it's one of the things I love the most about the P. Terry's brand is that, and my mission with this podcast is to make more P. Terry's out there in the world.
Well, thank you.
Owning a market. I want to see more 20 to 30 unit operators that are hyper local, hyper dense, that are giving back to the communities, and fewer 1,000 unit operators. I just don't think how big do you need to get?
Exactly.
It's my personal opinion. I'm not saying scale is bad. I'm still trying to figure out what that sweet spot looks like. And I think that sweet spot's probably relative, but how do we give the knowledge to more people so they can achieve P. Terry scale,
right,
and take some of that business away from the McDonald's and the Burger Kings of the world?
Well, I'll tell you, when In-N-Out announced they were coming to Texas, it's a while back, and they went into the suburbs of Dallas, I knew they were coming here.
Yeah.
And
very similar business model.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I in fact, in some ways, I think we're more Californian than they are.
Was that inspiration for you in the early days?
Oh, I take inspiration from a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
my first inspiration was always in my hometown of Abilene, Texas, where the Mac Eaplin's restaurant started. And, Mac was the quintessential restaurateur. I may have talked about this last time, but Mac had a dozen restaurants in a town of 90,000, and frankly, not a very wealthy town, but he owned it. I mean, he had the diner, the driveteria, the cafeteria, the steakhouse, the seafood house. He literally owned the town. He had a commissary. He did everything himself. I mean, it was, if you look at P. Terry's today, my God, you can look at the font at our menu and not even realizing it, but I had copied his font, and I didn't even design the menu. But
subconscious,
but
trend.
subconscious,
Yeah.
and saying to the designer, I want this to feel like the late 50s, early 60s. And I want to go back to a time of innocence, before John F. Kennedy was assassinated. I mean, this country was different.
Yeah, I thought this was a 40-year-old brand the first time I came to Austin.
Yeah, and that's intentional.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for that compliment, because that was the whole idea.
Well, I mean, you had scale, right?
Yeah.
So I had, like, when I came here, it was 2017, I think was the first time I came through.
Right.
You had scale, and you had this old brand. You were in older. The first one I went to was your original building. That was at least built in the 60s, if not sooner.
Right.
So I just assumed you were this old iconic brand that has like slowly scaled over time. And I was like, this place is only what? It's 13 years old?
Yeah.
What? That's crazy.
No,
Sorry.
and I remember people saying that to us on the patio. We'd been open 6 or 8 months, and I had a customer walk up and say, "This feels like it's been here forever," and all of that was intentional. I look at the entirety of the brand and what we're trying to achieve, and everything matters. The look of the menu, the uniform, the colors you choose. It's all part of it, and then you have to be really careful, because once someone gets comfortable with that, they don't like change.
Right.
So Mac was really the essence of it, but you can't argue with In-N-Out and the quality and the customer service. I mean, they are a really good brand, and I knew they were coming to Austin.
Similar vibe too, like older feel.
No question about it. And so when I know they're coming, then I have to make a decision, and we kind of did a circle the wagons thing, and I started amping up locations, because this was going to be, Austin was my town.
And what year was this?
Oh my goodness!
When you started ramping up, when you knew they were coming?
It was probably around 2010. We had gone through the financial crisis, and we were in 2008, and we were coming out of it, and we started looking for locations, even some that I knew weren't going to pay off for a couple of years, which was not part of my strategy. I always liked being last, and knowing that even though I might be paying more for a property or a lease, I knew that I was there, and it goes back to increasing your odds. So I didn't mind paying a little extra and being the last one there.
When you're saying, like, so this is site selection going into tested markets. So not being the first in a market, like a
right.
Austin is your market, but they're the sub markets within.
Yeah, and even down the street.
Right.
I mean, we went into it. One of our 10th location. Yeah, our 10th location was in a spot that I knew was going to take 5 or 6 years before the apartments came up, and they mowed down the older buildings, and that's exactly what's happened. But I was willing to wait, because my thought process was, if I don't take that property, another burger stand probably will.
Right. So here's something I'm struggling with. You said you don't mind being last. So in that example, you were ahead of it. So which one is it? So
my preference is to be last.
Okay.
My preference is to walk in and they say, well, there's a Chick-fil-A right here, and there's the line, and there's a McDonald's over here, and the Whataburger's there, and they're all doing very well because of the following reasons. And I'm like, okay, I can compete with those guys.
Right.
So I'm
the
in.
Lowe's approach that we discussed last time.
As opposed to, here's a bunch of land. One day these are going to be houses. You can be the first here. And I'm like, I'm not interested in that.
Okay. But when are you interested in it? Because you said you've done it before, where it's like that one location. What was different about that location?
Well, the difference was I became defensive because I knew In-N-Out was coming.
Oh, okay.
And so I specifically changed the strategy for a couple of years, and just bought some properties or leased some properties and started building in areas that I probably would not have built.
Because you knew that In-N-Out would take.
I knew they were coming, and they would probably take that location.
Got it. That makes sense. I mean, that's your plan has to be adaptable. Right?
Absolutely. I looked at so much of what we did, and I went back to the American Revolution, which is kind of nuts. And when the British were marching in lockstep onto the battlefield, and the Americans were hiding in the trees and shooting them. But that's the way wars had always been fought. and you're marching down the field.
Right.
And the Americans went, well, screw this. If I get in a tree, I got a better shot at shooting you and not getting shot. So when we look at a property and somebody says, well, nobody, we're going to do a property in Houston, and because of the size of the property, none of the big guys wanted it because they have their specifications. Well, I've got buildings and successful burger stands on 0.4 acres. So I don't walk in and say, oh no, it must be 1.1 acre, or I'm not going to do it. What I say is, okay, the hell with it. Make the dining room smaller, make it a single lane instead of a double lane, which I prefer, or get rid of the dining room and just make it a drive-through only. I mean, I've got
adaptable.
I've got to be. And I don't know why anyone else wouldn't be.
So I mean, so let's get back into like the big picture economics of like where you are today, because I'm curious. So 36 locations. What is the average per unit like prime cost?
Well, a building right now, all in, is going to cost in the mid $2 million.
Okay.
And if we want to get fancy, and sometimes we do, it'll get closer to $3 million.
Is that with the design of having
the design and what we found is, and I mean, again, this goes back to being adaptable, is that we use a lot of steel in our dining rooms, our dining rooms with drive-throughs. We have higher ceilings. Some of our architecture, I mean, we have one location that looks like a paper airplane about to take off.
It's right off of
I-35, yeah. And so, then you look at it and go, okay, price of steel's going up. If the tariffs kick in, it's really going up. We can't do that.
Right.
So we have to change our design. And again, going back to being adaptable, it's every day is a different challenge, but that's just life.
Right. So $2 to $3 million on average to open a store.
Right.
I mean, in terms of like percentages, we'll talk percentages. Like, what is your operating costs?
Yeah.
Prime costs.
So we keep our labor in the mid 20s.
Okay.
And our cost of goods, in the old days, our cost of goods were below 30. That's impossible today.
Right.
And so we're in the very, very low 30s. And it's really interesting because the reason we're able to keep our cost of goods below a lot of people is our limited menu. And so we just don't have any waste. Right. When you're cooking to order, you're not wasting very much food.
Right.
And the better our people are trained, the less it goes. I mean, we have one store that consistently the cost of goods is at least a point lower than any other store. And you look at that store, and it's because the employees have been there forever.
Okay.
Yes. And so it's just a natural thing.
Right. And that's one of the, not only is your cost down of goods, but also your training costs.
Right.
You're not making as many mistakes. You don't have to pay people to be there to train. And to your point, when they're there for a long time, they don't make mistakes. They're not wasting anything. What up, Unstoppables? This episode is made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. If you are a listener of Restaurant Unstoppable, I know you've heard me mention Restaurant Systems Pro, but just in case you haven't heard of it yet, it is a all-in-one enterprise solution. All the most critical systems that will help you become profitable. I'm talking about costing. I'm talking about inventory management. I'm talking about budgeting. I'm talking about labor management. I'm talking about training. The list goes on, all under one roof, tied to your general ledger, and they have their own POS, and they integrate with nearly every major POS out there. Restaurant Systems Pro is an amazing tool, and this is the thing that gets me really excited. When you join Restaurant Unstoppable Network, you get access to the CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, Fred Langley, twice a week for a P&L Power Hour. He literally will let you open up your P&L, share it on the screen, and he will help you close the gaps and increase your profitability. You do not have to be a Restaurant Systems Pro user to benefit from these live events. He doesn't care. We're just here to help you. Head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/RSP to get the full playlist of every Restaurant Systems Pro episode, a link to all the testimonials. And if we haven't sold you on Restaurant Systems Pro by then, I don't know what else to do. But if you really want to up your Restaurant Systems Pro experience, be sure to join Restaurant Unstoppable Network too. All right, guys, one more time, head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/RSP.
The craziest thing I ever read, and I might have mentioned it the last time, Eric Schlosser's book on Fast Food Nation.
Yeah.
Was that they were talking about one of the pizza companies, and I can't remember if it's In or a Hut, but I think it was one of those two. And at the time, and this book was written a long time ago, that business was deliberately letting people go after 6 months because they didn't want, at that point, they raises and perhaps other insurance or other things.
It was cheaper to turn people than it was to give them raises.
Insane,
right?
Insane, because it's not cheaper, right? You're retraining. You have absolutely no loyalty. You have no culture. You have looked at the picture so narrowly that you haven't seen the whole thing.
When was this book coming out? Or when did this?
Oh, I read. I can't even.
90s.
Yeah, it was probably in the 90s. It was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. A dear friend of mine had just read the book, and my wife read it first. And they recommended it to us. We were just about to open the business up, and my wife read it, and then she handed it to me, and she said, "You better read this before you open up that burger stand." And really, what Fast Food Nation talked about, it's dated today, but what it talked about was there are a lot of good things that fast food had done to this country, but there are a lot of bad things. And so I just focused on the good things.
What are the good things?
Well, that you could take a person at 16 years old and teach him a lot, and that could help him for the rest of his life. That you could be a small business owner and sell sandwiches and make a living and have your own business. And then, of course, the bad things.
What are the bad things?
There's a lot of crap in the food. And it's not healthy for for most people's diets, especially if they're eating it regularly.
Right.
When you focus on only making a profit, it's so narrow-minded. It's so silly because it's almost insulting that if your entire focus is just making money. It's hard for people to get excited about you and want to be a part of your business when that's your focus. And I'll give you a great example. We were doing store checks yesterday. I drove to San Antonio this company has. I'm so fortunate. We are so set up right now. We have 3 people. Their only job is to maintain our current restaurants. That's all they do. And we have a budget well over $1 million maintaining those restaurants. And I took 2 of the guys with me, and we drove to San Antonio. And I mean, they got out and snapping pictures and taking notes to every little detail, to things that I could barely see. They were noticing. And a customer walked up and said, "Are you involved with Pete Terry's?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am. I'm the owner. I'm Patrick Terry." And she could not have been nicer. She's not going to do that if she's having a bad experience. Listen, we all draw the line. I mean, you could meet me and be excited about me, but if the food sucks at Pete Terry's or the service sucks at Pete Terry's, you don't want to meet me.
Right.
You got nothing to say to me, at least nothing good. And so every compliment I take for the business, I realize it's because of those guys behind the counter.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, what you were alluding to is just like the dark side. That's how we got here, the dark side of Fast Food Nation, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there was absolutely a period, from like the 60s leading into like the 90s where more and more people started to realize to be successful in the restaurant industry, it was about paying attention to the bottom line, right? It became all about the bottom line,
right.
And survival, and the money was about getting the biggest possible profits. And the profits weren't on the front end. It was controlling costs.
Right.
And that's how people scaled and got big, and it was all about that. And then I think by like the early 2000s, that idea of just like chewing through people literally, right, and making it about the bottom line, like I think we hit the bottom Like we kind of got to this point where it was just like, okay, now it's the brands who are saying like the complete opposite of it's all about the people, it's all about the culture,
Yeah.
and it's all about the relationships with the guests.
Yep.
And like we kind of got away from what hospitality was the furthest in the 90s.
Right.
And then all of a sudden things started to swing back.
I think that's true. And a lot of it is just, it got more competitive and it had swung too far.
Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting. We took a different approach about a year ago, and we can get into this more if you'd like.
Yeah.
I came back as the CEO about a year and a half ago, and I put a person that's been with me. Well, I made 2 changes in operations, and the senior operations vice president has been with us for about 9 or 10 years, and the VP underneath him has been with me for 14 years. And the first reason for the change was, our culture. You know better than I do what it takes to succeed in a location. And I literally gave those 2 gentlemen carte blanche.
What's carte blanche?
You can do whatever you think you need to do. You don't have to ask permission from me for anything. If you need my advice, if you need extra funds, yes, come talk to me. We'll do that. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not looking over your shoulder. You know what you're supposed to do, and to give them that power and trust. So one quick example. We had a rule. The VP of operations had a rule. I want the second drive-through open, whether you're busy or not. We're here to build business. We're not here to control every penny. And a manager would get in trouble if his labor was too low. He would come back and say, your labor's too low, and I know why. You're not opening that grill early enough. You're not running that second drive-through. I'm telling you, I don't care if there's anybody in the restaurant or not. You got to have somebody in there. And you know what happened within 6 months? The business rose to that. And if you don't allow yourself that opportunity and take that chance, it's not much of a chance if you think about it.
When you say the business rose to that, you mean the revenue rose to
The
that?
revenue and the sales rose to that.
Okay.
And it was almost magic. It almost was magic. But what it proved was you could manage a store down. You could manage sales down. We've had managers when we've had really good openings, and it's been, thank God, the line's out the door and we're doing great. Well, obviously, an opening is not the same as business as usual. It's going to come down. The excitement drifts down. That's natural. But what I found was if your manager isn't competent enough to handle those crowds, by making mistakes and not doing a good job, you just manage it down to what you can handle. And it's like, okay, this is my comfort level. Well, the problem with your comfort level is you just killed my sales by 15%
Right.
for your comfort level.
Right. You're reminding me of Amir Mostafavi. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, Amir, from South Block. And do you know Amir?
Yeah, I know the name. I don't know.
Yeah, South Block out of DC. And one of my biggest takeaways from that conversation was the biggest thing that he tracks is customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
That is the number one number that he tracks. And exactly to your point, if you're tracking prime cost and labor costs and you're just strictly focused on getting your cost down as low as possible, well, how do you lower costs? You buy less quality goods.
Right.
You have fewer people working, which results in poorer service. Right. So you get so fixed on your prime costs that you're not paying attention to what the customers are saying. But if you're paying attention to what the customers are saying and giving them exactly what they want and using your resources, your labor expenses and stuff like that to deliver, then you're going to meet, to your point, your business will rise to the occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody told me a long time ago, you can't let your accountants or your lawyers run your business. You use their advice and guidelines, but man, if I let those 2 forms, because it's just a different mentality.
Right. Yeah. So in terms of going back to where we were, in terms of your operational costs, your prime costs are running between 55 and 60% based off of what you told me. What about your occupancy costs? Are you buying the property or?
No, we don't. We have we have a finite amount of funds, and first of all, in this area, people seldom sell. They don't sell their property,
Right.
and why would they? I mean,
It's only appreciating.
yeah, it's only appreciating. I'm covering their taxes, I'm covering their insurance,
Right.
and I put a $2.5–3 million building on their property,
Right.
and so that's just part of it. And we've walked away from deals where, yeah, that's a great location, but we can't spend that kind of money on a lease. It just doesn't fit.
So
our
what is your
model.
threshold in terms of your percent occupancy? Like, what do you like?
Well, the threshold, honestly, I can't give you a straight answer because it just varies. I mean, I can look at Houston and feel like, my store, that store is going to do 20% more in sales. My threshold grows.
Right.
It goes back to just being, just being not stuck in any one pattern.
Right. I mean, a rule of thumb I've heard is you want to stay. But 7% is a good target. You want to stay below 10%.
I think that's exactly right. I think we're probably, if you put a gun to me, I'd probably say we wouldn't go past 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you're right at about 70. If you're between 50, you're in the mid 60s in terms of your biggest costs, which leaves you about 30% for profit and whatever else.
Right. And one of the reasons, we've been able to expand and our company has done, well from that standpoint, is our G&A costs are sitting around 6. And that's
What's G&A?
It's our cost of doing business in the office. It's our IT guys, it's our HR, it's the building you're sitting in, and it's the cost of running our business outside of the burger stands.
Got it.
And it is not unusual for that to get closer to 10.
Okay.
And of course that's 3 to 4% on the bottom line.
Right.
And we staff correctly. I mean, we have 5 IT guys. I've got a couple of people in payroll and HR, and I've got nobody in accounting is lighting the midnight oil. And as I said to you earlier, our 3 guys just in charge of maintenance. So we're not cutting any corners. We just don't have any waste.
Got it. And in terms of range from your best performing to your least performing, what is percent profit? What is your best performing store?
So our restaurant EBITDA, we have stores in the 30s, and we have stores in the lower 20s, and a lot of it is it's just on how long the store's been there, and the location,
But if your lowest performing stores are in the low 20s, you're doing something good.
Yeah. No,
let's just say that.
Yeah, we are. We're in a really fortunate space, and people have most of our customers feel a connection to us, even when it took a while. Like in San Antonio, it's a new market. Not a lot of people knew us in San Antonio, and it's a different market than Austin. We went to Houston, and I was shocked how many people knew who we were. They'd come to Austin before, their
Right.
kids had been here, whatever it was, and it's almost emotional for me to see how people feel about us. And one of the things we do, and one of the reasons they feel that connection, is that when we go up on prices, there's a note in every bag with my signature on it explaining what's happened, that we have gone up on these prices, this is how much we've gone up, and this is why, and that we take every nickel seriously. And the feedback we get on those notes, highest feedback, positive feedback we get.
That's something I think the restaurant industry needs to be better about, is communicating when costs go up, communicating the why. Because I think a lot of consumers are just ignorant as to what it takes to run a restaurant. And I think that we're so afraid of offending the consumer. The customer's always right. Give the people what they want.
Right.
We literally are so reactive to the consumer.
Right.
We're fearful of the consumer. But the consumer needs to understand the business, I think, to a certain degree, in order to support
Oh,
To
no.
understand, like, okay, I understand why you're asking for
Right.
this money.
But I think what happens is that there are some chains, and I'll just I think Starbucks went up too high on their prices, and they were doing it because they were successful, so they just kept going up on their prices, and they were taking the risk of, well, we're really busy, so we can get another dime for this Americano, and then one day people looked up like me and said, you know what? You hit a price I'm no longer interested in coming here.
Unless there was a really strong relationship that would drive you back to that.
There's no question about it, which is harder for a Starbucks,
Right.
With
As
those
you scale.
locations. Yeah. And it's interesting, and that's a really good point, because there's a Starbucks in my neighborhood. And when we first opened P. Terry's, this Starbucks was here. I think it may have been the first Starbucks in Austin. I mean, this was back in 2005. And that became my Starbucks, which was very significant for a chain to have that reaction. And I'd walk in, and the guy would recognize me because I ordered the same thing every time, and they'd start making my drink. And I remember going to our store, and I go, you know what? If Starbucks can do that, we can do that. And I had a kid, he works for us to this day. He's not that far from you. And Matt started recognizing customers and their orders, which is a hell of a lot harder than a cup of coffee.
Okay.
And he could see the car and knew that's the cab driver that orders a hamburger this way. And he would tell him his order and welcome him. And that kind of started that.
Yeah. Right there, that is being seen.
Yeah.
That is one of the most important basic human needs, is to be seen, to be recognized, and to feel needed. Like when you feel like
No question about
that
it.
feeling, we literally need that feeling.
I was in a P. Terry's 2 days ago. There's these guys, and they work for a company, and they all wear the same color shirt. And every time I'm in there, they're there. And I walked up to the manager, and I said, "These guys are here all the time." And she said, "Yeah, they are." And she said, "They're really good customers." And so I bought 4 cookies with my own credit card. And I walked over and I said, "Hey, I'm the owner. I just want to thank you for coming here." And I dropped 4 cookies on the table. Well, it didn't cost me a lot. I know the cost of my cookie, and yeah, it cost me $4, but a lot of that came back to me. We had a thing, Eric, and I got tired of saying it because I can't get my people to do it, and frankly I just gave up. But I would tell a store, every day you get delivered 100 to 120 cookies. We bake them ourselves in our commissary, and you can sell those cookies and make $100. You can give those cookies away and make 100 friends. And I'll be damned, I can't get them to do it.
Yeah.
I just can't get them to do it.
Why not?
I think it is. It's one more step, and I think what they're thinking to me is, and they're not saying it is. Well, you want the order accurate. You want it at a certain time. You want the window moving. You want all of this from me, and then you also want me to take my time
To slow down.
to slow down, hand you a cookie, and make a connection. And I'm like, I get that. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
So I let it go, and then it becomes my responsibility when I'm in the store to do that.
Got it. So I kind of want to go back. So when I last had you on the show, we kind of shared your come up, what you were doing before P. Terry's, and some of the things that led you to where you were in 2022. So there tends to be like points of evolution. So there's getting open, right, 1 to 3, and then the scale beyond 3 is a challenge, and then 4 to 10. Typically, that is a different point of
Right.
growth and struggles, and then to go from 10 to say 20 is another challenge
Yeah.
for people. So when I spoke to you, you had turned around that beyond 10 location mark, and you were about to go beyond the 20 mark, right?
Right.
What I'm curious about, what was that getting to, like, for you beyond? We talked about kind of opening your first couple, but we didn't really talk about that next point of challenge, that next point of growth, going from 11 to 16.
Yeah,
So, or what was it for you? When was that next after?
Yeah. Well, that was tricky. It is tricky because I run my business on fear, and I don't recommend that, but that's what I do.
You said fear, listening, And what was the other thing? There were three things that you mentioned in the first conversation.
Well, we worked hard. We had crummy offices.
It was work your ass off, listening in fear, or your secret to success.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And so we've never had a layoff in our history due to a slowdown in business. We've always run that tight that when things, if we run a rough patch like COVID, or we had one quarter just after COVID or the ending of COVID where supply chain was crazy and our cost of goods just shot up. There was no way we could make any money. I mean, it wasn't possible, and we were battening down the hatches, but we didn't lay anybody off. And so I go back. I say that because when we're growing, I'm going to ask my people to give me 1.25 of their time, or 1.5. I mean, I'm going to ask more of them to get us through this period. And then once the sun comes out and those 3 or 4 stores that we've added are successful, then I'm going to be able to hire somebody to help them. And so we went sometimes, and I had a maintenance guy here that I didn't realize was coming in at 6 a.m. because that's how busy he was.
Wow.
And the rest of us weren't. And I the only reason I found out is that I showed up. We were going to go look at locations in Houston, and we all got here early to drive to Houston. I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I get here every morning at 6." Never said a word. I'm like, "Okay, that's not okay. I've got to find you somebody, whether it's part-time initially or whatever." But that's how tight we run it. And so once you see the success of those few stores, then you get to work a little less. You don't have to work as hard. But I was, I'm very tight about that. Because I run on fear. So those are hard jumps. Now I could tell you if you want to jump to present day, or you want to go.
I just want to throw in real quick, when I asked you, what are you afraid of? You said not having a well-run business and people saying, remember when it used to be. Oh, yeah.
It's always remember what it used to be. Yeah. That's the kiss of death. Yeah. And because I've said that, about business is my whole life. Right. Oh gosh, I remember when that shirt actually fit.
So I think getting to 3 or 4 locations tends to be a hurdle. You scaled pretty quickly, right? You had this pressure. You were afraid, you had the pressure from In-N-Out coming into your market. What was the challenge? Where was the biggest challenge for you beyond, say, 5 locations? Because I'm assuming you had to go through some growing pains to get to that point. But what was the next challenge for you?
It's really in training at the store level.
When was that?
Well, it continues.
Right.
It never ends. I think there were times in that 10 to 15 range.
Okay.
When we were starting to get spread a little thin. We try and had, because here's the deal. At what point can you afford to write your own training manuals, and who's going to do that? At what point can you have a couple of people on the bench and that you're paying a salary for, but they're actually not doing manager's duties, but you've got them in waiting.
Right.
I mean, those are all luxuries.
Right.
And to have a formal training ground is expensive.
Right.
But at some point you hit a number where, using tape and string to keep things together, it's just not going to work anymore.
What was that point for you? Was it 10 to 15?
I think it was 10 to 15.
And you said the training is expensive. Is that hiring somebody with a 6-figure, a chief of human resources or something like that?
Yeah, it's bringing somebody in who has worked at other companies and written their training manuals and doing videotapes to show employees what's expected of them, or giving them a manual that I'm not sure anybody ever reads.
When were you at 10 locations?
How many years ago?
Yeah.
It was probably in 2012 maybe.
2012?
Maybe.
So from 2012 to 2020, you went from 10 to it was 16 locations. You grew
Yeah.
kind of slow during that time. Actually.
Yeah, actually,
Was
let's
it
see.
because you needed to? Did you realize you kind of you had to like build some things up before you continued to scale?
Yeah, I think there was that, and there was also I wasn't ready to leave Austin, and I was comfortable. You know, my wife and I were pretty hands on, and so I didn't want to be ever too far away from one of my locations. And so, you know, going to San Marcos, which was 30 minutes away, was a big deal. I mean, that was like nerve-wracking for me. And so I didn't feel like we had the infrastructure that, you know, we could drive an hour and that store.
Sometimes 2 hours, depending on the time of day.
Boy, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, I went from our second store in Houston, one store to another, and not in traffic, and it was over an hour.
Wow.
So, you know, I also had to get past that. You know, I had to be able to start trusting people and not feeling like I had to be there. So my schedule back then was I was in the office Monday through Friday, and then I was in the stores all day Saturday and Sunday. And I would start driving stores around 10 a.m. on Saturday, and I'd hit half the stores on Saturday and spend time in every store, and then I'd do it on Sunday. I'd hit the other stores.
Did you have a ritual when you were going into the ritual was, you know, what your weekly rituals, but when you got into the car and you were going to the store, was there the same like walk through at every store?
Oh, absolutely. The first thing you do is you walk the outside of the store, and you're looking for trash. You're looking to see what the customer sees, whether they're in the drive-through or pulling up in the parking lot. It's the very first thing you do. We did that yesterday in San Antonio. Every stop we did, walk the whole store. And then you walk in, you say hello, and you walk into the bathrooms. That's the first thing you do. If you have a dirty bathroom, you have a dirty restaurant. If you have a dirty bathroom, people start not feeling good about your food.
Right.
They have every right to feel that way. And so, and you're looking for the little things that a manager, if a manager's running a good store and I walk in, everyone makes eye contact with me. If they're not running a good store, no one's looking at me because they know.
Right, like bosses here.
They
Don't
know.
make eye contact.
Yeah, and oh crap, you know, we're not doing our job, and he's about to find out.
Yeah. So you're basically so you just like this is the routine, and I think that level of excellence is you need to have that person there that's keeping everything in place, and that that having that presence. That's the hard part to scale, right? And is that kind of what you were feeling around 2020 when?
I think so. Oh, I think so. And I wasn't very comfortable. I wasn't very comfortable going to another city because I didn't have that experience. And so, I brought in a CEO and to do that had done that before.
Yeah.
And that's what got us into San Antonio.
What was your vision in 2005?
Well, it was one thing. I wanted to open up a second store. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to prove to myself that I was a good enough operator that I could have a second location.
You did that in 3 years?
Yeah, and you know what? I wanted to do it in 10 minutes, and thank God I didn't.
Right.
We
talked about that.
Yeah, I was really lucky.
Yeah.
I was really lucky.
At what point did you have a vision for more?
When I said, if the second store is successful, then we'll open a third. And if the third store is successful, we'll open a fourth. But I was never going to the whole idea was never get in over your skis. And so if the fourth store had not been successful, I would have put on the brakes.
So at any point did you get over your skis?
I don't really think we did. Okay. I really don't. I not with Pete Terry's concept, and not with not on a day-to-day basis. I think we've been, if anything, we've been maybe too cautious in some areas.
You reached out to Todd Curver in 2018.
That sounds right.
That's when you guys first like you said, hey, I'm looking, we're looking to grow. What was your vision in 2018?
I wanted to go Kathy and I, my wife and I we literally sat down and had a conversation, and we said, do we stop here and
15 locations
and 18 and be very happy got a great life, got a great group of people working for us, or do we challenge ourselves and go to the next location? And we both came to the same conclusion for different reasons. My answer is that I love the challenge, and I want to see what we as a company and are capable of. And me personally, what am I capable of? Kathy loved the idea that at the time we had 600 employees or whatever the number was. And we feel good about people working for us and what we do for them and what they do for us. And she wanted to increase that number. If we're doing this for 600, let's do it for 1,000. And that's what we've done. When you have emotional ties to your business, and you can't help but have those same ties with the people that work for you. And the idea that, that we have interest-free loans and a safe haven for our people to come that's free of any kind of political BS, that people genuinely, I think, for the most part, like working at P. Terry's, it's incredibly satisfying. And the idea that you can increase that number and do that for more people, it's pretty heady.
Yeah. I mean, it feels good to be able to do good.
It does feel good.
Right. But is there, so what was the vision, I guess? Like you said, you wanted to be able to continue to do it. But.
So I didn't feel like because I hadn't done it before, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to do it. I didn't think I was capable. It was a very personal thing on my
imposter syndrome.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, there's one thing when you have 16, 15 locations all within a city that you can. I mean, you could drive by every location in 2 hours if you didn't stop. Right. With Austin traffic.
Yeah.
Right. So like you can keep your finger on the pulse. You can wake up Saturday morning and hit every store in a day.
Right.
And when you start to kind of let that out of your reach, I can see why that would be scary. Was there a number in terms of scale that you were trying to get to in 2018 when you went to a CEO? Was there like let's get to this number?
No, the only thing I did is at the time, Kathy and I owned 100% of the company, and we had a loan. We had a great bank. Everything was good, and but I thought, well, if I'm bringing somebody in to do this, we need some jet fuel to grow, because we're limited with a bank, and so I brought in some investors, kind of a friends and family fund, and what we did was pretty much erase our bank note, and that gave us the opportunity to go build half a dozen restaurants right away.
Well, that's something, even if you have 15 or 16 locations and you're averaging, let's say 27% profit in those locations. And I don't know what type of volume you're doing, but I'm assuming you're even if you're making that kind of money with that kind of profit, if you want to get to the next stage, and the next stage is what, like 30 locations? Right. Like you need to go get outside money.
You do.
Why is that? Like what are the things that you cannot reach with that amount of consistent profit? Like even at that point, the numbers you were doing, why do you need more?
Well, because
somebody wants to get on the microphone.
It's about getting on. It's about
This is a dog-friendly office.
It's a dog-friendly office. Sorry.
We are saying hello. There's some new folks just came to work. It's exciting.
Yeah, Lola just said hello to Lucy. It's not that you can't do it. It's just how fast you could do it. Okay. And you're gonna, the bank can be your best friend, but the bank is also watching and seeing how fast you're growing.
Right.
And the bank gets nervous. Bankers are paid to be nervous, and so I just wanted to eliminate that, and I didn't want to worry about money. I spent my whole life worrying about money, and to have that cushion just made sense to me.
But you did go to the banks, right?
Oh yeah, we went to the banks, but when I brought in the investors, what we did was we maintained our account, but we wiped it out. We pretty much ended our debt, and then we started borrowing again.
Okay, but from private equity instead of banks.
No, not private equity. I don't do business with private equity or venture capitalists.
So you had money from banks. You got new money.
You got new money from.
You paid off your debt from the bank.
Yeah, and then we started borrowing all over again.
Where did you get the new money from? I'm sorry,
just a friends and family.
Okay,
I people around Austin who I know, and we raised some money, and it was enough to just start back at zero with our bank, and then we started borrowing again. But but to start at zero allows us a run of however much
You're
money we need.
increasing your credit with the bank.
Yeah.
Were there better percentage rates? Is that part of it?
No, not really. But it just gave us a longer runway, and it allowed us to move faster.
Got it. So at this point, this is 2018. You didn't have a number in your mind, right? Well, what was the governor, I guess? The goal was to make an impact in people's lives. If you can do it for 600, let's do it for 1,000.
Right.
But
I can't tell you, Eric. I can't tell you.
I'm trying to get into your head.
I can't tell you. I can't tell you what my goal is today. I just don't have that goal. I don't have a goal how many stores we should have tomorrow or 5 years from now. I just don't do that. I look at what we're doing and what we can afford, and I go forward. We have a 5-year plan, and we had a really great year last year, and we had a really great quarter this quarter. And so as a result, I went to our VP of accounting and I said, let's look at your 5-year plan and put in the new numbers that we're running now and tell me what that means for my growth for the next 5 years and how many stores I can open in the next 5 years. And she redid the numbers, and we're going to try and do 2 in a couple of years and 3, whatever. And that'll be our goal.
So just base it off projections.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, those projections, I mean, there's a reason I want to run this company, and there's a reason that I don't want anyone telling me what to do, is because when I look at those numbers, I say, yes, we're going to do that. And if something changes 6 months from now, then we don't do it.
Right. So your current title is CEO, right?
Right.
When you realized you kind of needed help back in 2018, we identified that we needed more cash flow, right? We talked about how you got that. What did you feel like you were missing in terms of personnel?
This episode is made possible by Restaurant Systems Pro. And at Restaurant Unstoppable, we are huge fans of Restaurant Systems Pro, so much that we are partnering with Restaurant Systems Pro, and they are going live every other week, twice a month. They are going live in Restaurant Unstoppable Network. Fred Langley, the CEO of Restaurant Systems Pro, we will have access to him, and he will go through your P&L. You do not have to be a Restaurant Systems Pro client to take advantage of this. He will literally tear apart your P&L, and he will help you find the gaps so you can increase your profit by 5% or more. He is literally saving people's restaurants in Restaurant Unstoppable Network. If you want to take advantage of not just Restaurant Systems Pro, their budgeting, their costing, their inventory, their labor management, their training, their general ledger, all tied to your POS, this amount of data is insanely ridiculous. Beyond that, he's making himself available to coach you. This is all happening at restaurantunstoppable.com/live. We'll see you there.
I wasn't sure I knew. I feel like, and I say this humbly, the ultimate compliment I think of someone that can give me is calling me an entrepreneur. I'm not sure I am. I'm not sure how you classify yourself as an entrepreneur, honestly, but I felt like I was, and there's a part of me that goes with that mantra that says you just are responsible for everything. And so we had an office with half a dozen people. If you wanted to make a private phone call, you had to go to the parking lot because there are 4 of us in a room. And that's just how I operate. And I realized that that's not fair. And it's not how to grow. And I wanted to grow. So I wasn't sure how to grow. And Todd brought a lot of experience in growing. We didn't have an HR. We didn't have an IT. We didn't have that. And Todd walked in with a background that allowed him to establish those things.
Yeah, I had Todd on the show. He was the episode immediately after yours. So if you guys want to check out that episode and kind of hear about who we're talking to, that was episode 692. You said you didn't have a goal in terms of numbers, but you had a vision, right? What was, and you alluded that the vision was continue to do what we're doing in this community with these restaurants, but for more people.
Right.
And that was taking care of people, providing security for people, for providing opportunity for people, receiving love because you're giving love. What does that look like in a vision though? Like, you know, when we do the visioning exercise, like you close your eyes and you say like, this is what people are saying about me. This is the amount of money I'm working or making. This is, you know, what people will say at my funeral about me and what I've done. Like, what is that for you?
Well, it hasn't changed. It's always been the same. And, you know, it's the same thing that we've always done on a larger scale. And, you know, and now we have 8 area managers, right? And as opposed to 4, but those additional 4 came up in the workforce. And so, you know, we still get down to the birthday cakes being delivered by Susie, who's done them. I mean, Susie was our first hire 20 years ago. Susie's still driving around birthday cakes.
What does her manufacturing facility look like? She has 1,000 people she's making cakes for now.
What we've done is, the commissary has taken over some of the baking because it's not realistic, but Susie remains a symbol. And so Susie still bakes cakes for certain restaurants and delivers them every day. She doesn't do 36 stores, but she's still here. By the way, she's the only company car we have is Susie's. And she drives around smoking her cigarettes in her car. God, do not buy that car when we turn it back in, and makes it. And you know that symbol's important because it's part of who we are, and it's part of our vision. And the minute that changes, the minute you just and by the way, it's really easy to drift. Then things change.
Right.
So the vision just has stayed the same, and by the way, my focus is still the same. I don't look at it as 36 stores. I look at it as the P. Terry's that I expect to happen every day, whether it's the first store or the 36 store.
So it's culture and brand and people over all else, and as long as you can maintain that brand promise, the quality of the relationships, the quality of the product, as long as that's not teetering, keep going.
Exactly. But it all goes back to that it is a two-way street with my employees. I'm going to provide the things that you need to succeed. I'll do anything in the world for you. I really will. I mean, there was a couple of weeks ago that I was at the hospital twice because one of my employees' child had a terrible accident, and another one's baby was going through some prenatal stuff. So I went twice the weekend. Not a big deal for me. Not a sacrifice. Easy to do. Hell, I know everybody in the hospital anyway. But if I do all of that for you, and I will, there is something I have to have in return. Otherwise it doesn't work.
And what is that?
I need you to take care of the customer. I need you to take pride in what you do and represent me.
Yeah.
And if I drop the ball, I get it. And then this isn't going to work. But you don't get to drop the ball either. It's just I don't know how that sounds, but it's just the truth.
What would you say your strengths are in terms of like, what do you bring to the table? Like, what are your lanes?
I give a damn. The one thing every one of those people right there knows is that I give a damn, and I'll do whatever I can for them and for the business.
What are you better at everybody else at doing that nobody else can do as good as you?
Well, I'm not sure there's anything. You know what? It's interesting you say that. If you would have asked me a couple of years ago, I would have said that I can go into a restaurant and spot a problem first. That the corner of my eye saw the milkshake machine light blinking and that it needed mix. or there was a napkin under the table that the dining room attendant missed.
I think those are all examples of just giving a damn.
Yeah, they are. They are. But what I found is that I have people now that are better than me.
Okay.
They really are. They'll walk in, and they anticipate they're in the restaurants every day, and so they're just better tuned.
Why do they give a damn?
Oh, because I give a damn about them. I mean, there isn't a call I've never not taken. I mean, I've gotten calls at 3 a.m. I've gotten a call from an employee that's still with us at 3 a.m. that said, I'm in the emergency clinic with a 24-hour vet, and they're not going to operate on the dog without it. But,
one thing I've learned from you, I've witnessed in you and studying you, and it's something I say about all the greatest restaurateurs out there. And yes, I'm grouping you into that.
Boy, you're nice.
That behind every great restaurant is a great person.
Yeah.
And you don't grow a business until you put that energy into yourself first. A long look into the mirror. What am I doing? How can I be the one that gives the biggest damn here?
Right.
How do I live what I say to do? Your culture is literally the reverse engineering of who you are and what your values are. It's not what you say, it's what you're doing every day.
Right.
And when you can walk the walk,
Yeah.
And when your business is a manifestation of what you believe will make the world a better place, like that's when, that's the kind of stuff that will carry a brand the distance, right? So I think you do have the visionary entrepreneur characteristics of just being the one that thinks they can change the world and literally does, right? And it starts by changing the people who are closest to you, by caring for the people who are closest to you, by lifting up the people who are closest, and it ripples out.
Yeah.
So
can I give you an example real quick?
Yeah, please.
Something just came to mind. So what I do is natural, right? It's not forced. It's who I am. It's how I think a business should be run. And I've studied business my whole life. I mean, I'm a total nerd about walking in to retail and going through the mall and just looking at things. So what I think, I'm so immersed in it that I can't imagine doing it any differently. And I had a gentleman reach out to me. He had just sold he had an online clothing business, and he sold out, made a ton of money. And now the company that he sold it to brings him back and says, we want to take your online business and do brick and mortar. And so they put him in charge because he's one of the founders of the company. And we meet at one of the restaurants. He wants my advice because they've opened 3 or 4 of these stores and they've closed them all and they just haven't succeeded. And so I start telling him what the ritual is when a Pete Terry's is opened. And I tell him about the birthday cakes and I tell him about the interest-free loans. And that those employees are the heart and soul of this business and they represent the company. And it's something that's brand new to him because his business was online and he didn't have that. He didn't need that culture. That wasn't part of the experience for the customer, right?
Right.
Now all of a sudden they're walking in and the guy is sitting there and he doesn't attend to the customer, and it doesn't matter what the clothing is. He not getting good service. He walks out, and I start telling him what my day is like, and he literally turns white. The color comes out of his head, and he excuses himself and leaves. And what he realized was, holy crap, this is a whole different world.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and by his reaction, I don't think I want to be a part of it.
Right.
Literally said thank you, got up and left, and I never heard from him again.
Wow.
And by the way, hell, that's fine with. I mean, it's not my business.
Right.
But and by the way, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I go too far, but that's what I did, and that's not what he wanted to hear.
Right. And I think it's weird. Like with this podcast, you see a lot of other ads out there appealing for restaurant owners' attention, and they focus on emotions. They try to really pull on the emotional elements of restaurateurs. Right. Like, do you want more time in your life? Do you want to
Right.
be able to sit on the beach? Are like, do you want to be free from your restaurant?
Right.
And it's like, you should have the option to be able to leave your restaurant for a special event.
Yeah.
But do you really want to be free from your business?
Right.
Does your business deserve that? Do the people who work for your business deserve that? Does your community deserve an absentee
Right.
like entrepreneur who doesn't give a shit about the people that are there and like are, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
Oh yeah.
I don't know if we need more people, more absentee owners in the world. Like,
No, I have to tell you, it is to watch the basics. My daughter works at a local business here. I don't want to go into it, and they don't staff the night she works. They don't staff it enough, and so they get their ass kicked every night that she works, and then they have to stay late to clean because they're understaffed, and the manager doesn't work weekends. Well, you're in the wrong business. You're in the wrong business. And by the way, to allow the manager to not work weekends is insane.
right.
I mean, we have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Our managers have to work 2 of those 3 days. That's just the business. I mean, I talked to a manager a couple of months ago during football season, and I said, your hometown's got a football game tonight. What's your schedule? And he said, well, I have 2 shift leaders that'll be there. And I said, where are you? And he said, well, I get off at 5. And I said, it's the wrong answer. You got a football game. They're going to come to afterwards. You're going to have a late night. I'm sorry. That's the business.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I guess what I want to get into, so after I spoke with you in 2020, I had, it was a great conversation I had with Todd. Great guy.
Absolutely.
And what I listened to that episode too before coming in today, kind of wrap my mind out around where you guys were and what his specialties were. And it was interesting because he was really focusing on, he got brought in because it was all about growth. Like that was kind of his career, was helping people grow and scale. And that
Right.
was what he was bringing to the table.
Right.
He had this experience scaling concepts. And really, he said, we actually named the episode, The 3 Steps to Recovering a Brand, not relative to P. Terry's brand, but the previous brands that he worked with.
Right.
And what I thought was interesting, what he was a specialist in was distilling the whatever makes a brand special and like kind of reconnecting with that and then like promoting it within the organization. But
Right.
2008 or in 2020, when I spoke to you, like there was nothing wrong with the P. Terry's brand. Like
Right.
you knew who you were.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. You don't have to fix something that isn't broken.
Right.
And you don't need to go out of your way to fix something that isn't broken. What you need to do is say, okay, I got a brand, that's running on all cylinders. Let's just move forward. With
That was the
brand.
thing that was probably your biggest strength. Well, I mean, you had great product too, but it was the culture. the
No,
brand.
it was our biggest strength. It absolutely was. Yeah, there's no question.
So, what was the appeal for you and Todd in terms of what did you feel like you were missing that he brought?
The experience to go to another city.
Another
that was
city.
it. Todd's got a great moral compass, and it certainly aligns with our values. And so it was okay. Just get us to another city and let us grow properly.
What was the strategy in 2020 when I spoke to you?
Well, it was literally to go. We're going to take this brand and we're going to go, 75 miles down the road and
San Antonio?
into San Antonio, and we're going to have half a dozen stores.
Got it. And with Todd, he left in 2023?
I think that's right.
2023. So
Yeah.
he was with P. Terry's for 3 years.
Yeah.
From 2020, 16 locations when I spoke to you January to 2023. Where were you in 2023?
Probably 15 more.
15 more in that period of time.
And we did a lot.
Yeah, that's
we
busy.
did a lot.
You also stopped. You had a concept that a taco concept,
Right.
that you ended up closing in 2023.
Right.
Anything worth noting?
It's
relative to that?
interesting. There's a great lesson in that. There really is. So we opened. When we did this, like I said, Kathy and I had this come to Jesus. What do we want to do? Well, before we had that come to Jesus, I had this idea that we were just going to stay in Central Texas and we're going to run out of P. Terry's locations. So I would create another concept, and that way we could continue doing what we were doing without leaving the area. It just seemed
Go deeper into the community.
go deeper into the community. And what I thought was, well, I can do with tacos what I did with, hamburgers. In other words, just
No shortage of burger places, right? No
right,
shortage of taco
and
places.
no shortage of taco places. And really what I was thinking of is, I'm going after Taco Bell. Like I was thinking I'm going after McDonald's. And of course that was a very simplistic way of seeing things.
What year did the taco place open? Was that 2018?
Oh, it's probably around then.
Yeah. I mean, I think I hear you, but also in Texas, at that time, you're also competing with how many different people who are going after Taco Bell.
Oh yeah, and the mistake I made, well, we made a few, but was people were looking. Austin is a real taco place,
Right.
And they were looking for fancy tacos. They were because the
Torchies.
Yeah, exactly, with avocado and exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Well, my price point, I don't do that, and I brought the same price point to tacos that I did for hamburgers.
So you're trying to do a very simple, high quality product, but simple.
I was doing a high quality Taco Bell.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was doing. I had
Got
a
it.
chalupa, I had a burrito. We were making our own beans. We were making our own tacos. We didn't put crap in any of it. I mean, it's the same thing we did with P. Terry's. But what I didn't know, and it's because how I run my business, which is out of fear, and I don't look up and go and pat myself on the back or thump my chest. I didn't know how strong our brand was, P. Terry's brand. I really didn't. And I also didn't understand social media because when we opened 05, there was none.
Right.
And what happened was the anticipation of Taco Ranch was enormous. And I didn't know it. I didn't understand any of it. And I kid you not, when we opened at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. the first morning, I said on my way, I called whoever opened that morning, or the manager, and I said, I'm on my way. I'll be there before we open. You might want to have the employees park their cars in the front so people know we're open. So the line through the drive-through was probably half a mile.
Wow.
And out the door. We don't know what the hell we're doing.
Right.
I'm looking for a soft opening. I'm
Right.
trying to just learn how to make tacos. I mean, we had trained our best we could, but so we were done the day we opened. There was no way we could recover.
Yeah.
And it was over. And then by then also we had decided we were bringing Todd in, or that we were looking for somebody. And then that strategy was out the window anyway, because now we were going to another city.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we held on for a while, mostly out of pride, and moved on.
What were the biggest additions in terms of how you did things to evolve to scale to where you are today in that 3-year period from 16 to 30 locations?
Well, we moved offices and got a bigger office.
Beautiful office, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
And this isn't where I was last
yeah,
time.
and our commissary's next door.
Yep,
It's
beautiful.
connected, and Todd did that, and it was a great move. And we hired IT people, we hired HR person. And we really kind of established ourselves for the future.
Yeah, this is the point where you have to kind of build the house before you move into it, right? You're like,
Yep.
This is where we're going. Who do we need to get there?
Right.
Who are the who's?
Yeah.
Right. And who were the who's for you? Like, how did you guys identify what you needed was 2 more IT people, and what were those seats you were trying to fill?
Well, we brought in one IT guy, and we said, okay, what do you need, and how many people do you need? And he had great experience. He comes from Nebraska and had run a bunch of Raising Cane's, done IT for Raising Cane's. So he had great experience. And our HR
Drive through everything.
Yeah. And our HR person had run over 1,000 Taco Bells in Mexico, so she knew what the hell she was doing. And then you say, okay, tell me what you need, and then if it works for your budget, then you're able to give it to them. Most likely, you're not going to get everything you want the first time you ask.
So it was IT and HR? Were those the two you said?
Those are the two.
So in IT, this individual, what do you need? What did they tell you they needed?
So, the first thing is we need to improve, just our POS system.
Where were you before 2018?
What with who or
prior to this person coming and saying you need to invest? Where
we were using outside sources to fix our stuff.
But what was your POS system at that point?
Oh, before Brink, we're at Brink.
You're with Brink now.
Yeah, I can't remember.
So I mean, you have an IT person, right?
Yeah.
They were telling you what you needed, but I mean, this is where it gets weird. Typically, the CEO isn't the person to talk technology with. They got a guy for that.
Yeah.
Right? So you went with Brink, but can you tell me why you went with Brink?
We brought in an outside consultant at the time, and we got him through another restaurant person, and the guy flew in and spent a week with us, and we saw what our needs were, and then we interviewed half a dozen POS companies, and that's how we picked one.
Okay. And are you using Brink, or are you using?
We're still using Brink. Yeah.
Okay. And what else did the IT guy tell you?
Well, we were, he took us to a new level with like security cameras,
okay.
And one of the things that I like most about running a company is I don't let people don't have to stay in their lane, and so what this particular person has done is he now does he got very involved with our third party deliveries, Uber Eats and DoorDash, and he started working with them. He got involved with our website and in finishing the creation of a new website, and I take a lot of his suggestions on even some marketing stuff. So
this is the IT guy.
This is the IT guy, and when he's putting together, third party stuff has become a huge business for us, and he put all that together for us. So there's just a mixed bag of things.
Got it. So kind of elevated the technological, I guess, ecosystem for you guys, and then HR. In terms of HR, from before to after, like how did that evolve? How did that grow?
Well, we had a manager, office manager, and she was doing payroll. She was doing a multitude of things, and we just started as we got along. We started pulling things off. So payroll actually has involvement with HR, and then we started offering insurance. So we needed a person to maintain all of that. So it just kind of grew exponentially.
Got it. And you mentioned training was something that you guys evolved over time.
And we hired a training person.
Yeah. So what does that training look like now?
Well, she's constantly updating our training booklets. She's involved in our store openings. We created what we call a green team, which is just experienced P. Terry's employees showing up at a new opening, and on hand training for the first 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how things are going, with our new employees who've already gone through a training session, but we're never going to just throw them into a new store and tell them, okay, you're on the grill now. So we have green team people surrounding all the key positions, and they step in when they're needed, and they step back, and they step in, and they step back through the process of those 3 weeks.
So green team is what you call them?
Yeah.
How many green team people are?
Oh, we probably have around 20.
And they float around all the locations?
They float, yeah, for the new stores, for the new
stores.
store openings.
So how did you find the green team?
Well, we go to the managers at all the stores, and we say, give us your best grill guy, and can you afford to lose him for a couple of weeks?
Yeah. And who taught you this approach? Where's your inspiration for this?
Well, I always knew, and I'm being very careful that I don't take much credit on this, but I always knew that existed for other companies, just from my reading. And so it sounded like a good idea, and then we just had to create our own program.
Yeah, I had Chris Schultz on the show from Voodoo Donut. He was previously with Mod Pizza, and before that he was with Starbucks. And he did a whole conversation around how do you scale culture, and that was his answer.
Yeah,
you find the culture carriers.
Yeah.
You find the people who are that bleed, sweat, and tear, and cry.
Right.
Your culture, and then you have those people go to the new store because that is the standard.
Yep. No, it's a great line.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
So, in 2023, where were you guys? Like, paint the picture of where you were, and ultimately, it seemed like Todd joining the team. It seemed like it was a match made in heaven, right? You guys, the value, like the values were there,
right?
Like, ultimately, why didn't he want to?
So, what happened was, I think I just, to be honest with you, I just wanted to run the company, and it's not fair to a guy who you brought in to run the company, and I gave him, that freedom, and I was here every day, and when you put two people in a room and go over things, you're not going to always be on the same page.
Right.
It just doesn't exist. And what I was seeing was that, I think I can do this. I think that and it's not just me alone, but I don't think anyone knows more about what I'm trying to do than me.
What were you trying to do? I mean, you kind of shared that earlier with
and
making an impact.
I think there was I think there's a standard that I have that that's hard to understand, because my standard is different than other places. And not to say that, we're the best, but what my goal is higher than most people, and we're just trying to always get there. And so what I was looking for was, I think I can do this better.
Yeah.
I mean, that just whether I can or not, I just said, you know what, I think I can do this better.
Were you resisting Todd?
No, I gave Todd all the opportunity he needed, and I didn't think, like I said, I didn't think it was fair to walk in every day and go, I really think we ought to do this.
Okay.
And so I let him run the company, and then in the end I looked and went, you know what, I think I want to do this. And so we parted ways. He's a great guy. He's on to other things. And
it was a great conversation.
Yeah, no, he's first class.
Yeah.
And but it's one of those deals, and it's really interesting that and maybe you just have to be here for a dozen years to figure us out, because we're just different. We don't take ourselves seriously, but we take the business very seriously. I probably said this to you the last time, but this is all about protecting the mothership. Mm-hmm. And the mothership, it's so easy to run this company when that is the number one priority.
What is the mothership?
So the mothership is our business, and how we eat and how we take care of each other. And if there's someone that's protecting the mothership, there's someone that's not being a part of that, and it's in fact hurting us by a job performance, that person can't work here. I mean, you can talk to them and give them a first and second chance. You can give them a third chance if you want. But at some point, that person can't work here if they're not in alignment. And it's not a bunch of people, marching and, lockstep and saluting and that. It's not that about all. It's just doing what you're supposed to do every day.
Yeah. And
I will do anything to protect this. And, literally, I have let people go that I truly love, tears running down my cheeks, but damn it, you can't work here because you can't do this job. And by the way, you're probably as miserable as I am about this, because you're not doing you got the wrong spot, right?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of EOS, the book Traction. I echo it often. And one of the things they talk about as you're promoting people into positions, they have to check 3 boxes. They have to get it.
Right.
Meaning they have to understand what the expectation is. They have to want it.
Right.
Meaning there's a desire
to
move into that role, and the ability to do it. They have to get it, want it, and have the ability to do it. If you don't have all 3 of those things, then they will not be successful.
Yep.
So sometimes people just don't have the ability.
Right.
Or they're super able, but they don't want the added responsibility, or they don't understand what the expectation is.
I think that's more than fair.
Yeah. So since 2023, you've opened 6 more locations.
Right.
Correct? How has so you went from, in 3 years, 2020 to 2023, you doubled in size. And then 2023 to the past 2 years, you opened 6 more locations.
Right.
What has changed internally that might not be, like, how have you evolved eternally?
It's gotten easier.
Okay. So where were you in 2023, and what has changed since then to make it easier?
So, well, everyone in a key position here has worked here at least 9 or 10 years.
Okay.
And so I have absolute trust in them, and they deliver. They understand what we're about, and they now have the tools they need to get it done. And so, we had an opening just a week ago at our second Houston location. That is the first time in our history that I had not been on site at a new location from the time that we broke ground to the time on our opening day. I'd never been there.
Wow.
And the idea that would happen is so foreign to me, but I had absolute faith in the people that were. And then obviously we're having weekly updates, and I know the progress, and I know if there are any problems. But for me not to have to drive there, and for me to show up opening day at 11 o'clock in the morning when we've already been open for 4 hours, and just to stand there and visit with people, I mean, it's unheard of. But that's where we are right now.
So it sounds like you're promoting more from within.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. Oh yes. We if we can. I mean, that's always first choice.
So, I mean, you have the unit standard roles, right? The frontline employees, the AGMs, the managers, regional managers. But when we get to like the office, like what's that hierarchy look like? You're the CEO. You have
we have
IT,
a senior. Yeah, we
HR.
We have a senior leadership team, and we meet. I have meetings all day Tuesday. And they're not necessarily long meetings, but I want to stay in touch with everyone.
Yeah.
And I come and go during the week, but on Tuesday it's all hands. And so the senior leadership team is operations, two people from operations, IT, HR, and accounting. And we go over last week's numbers. We look for any signs of weakness in a store.
Issues.
I look at 6:08. My number at 6:08 a.m. My numbers come in from the night before, and I look at every store's numbers. I look at versus last week versus last year, and I'm looking for green, not red. And if I see consistency in red, that we're not doing better than we did the year before, we certainly better be doing than the year before, but then that's going to be brought up. And it, no issue is too small. It really isn't. You've got a new manager there. Is that new manager towing the line? Because what I'm seeing is sales are down 2 or 3% the last few weeks. Is there an issue here? Should I be concerned? And they know they know the question's coming.
Right.
And so that I hope that ups their game. That I'm going to ask that tough question. I mean, I saw some stuff in San Antonio yesterday, and after this podcast, we're going to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And it's not all bad. Man, the first thing I say is I want you guys to know how great this company is doing overall and how appreciative my wife and I are of what you guys are doing. But what happened here? And let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And you always lead with, and we're fortunate because I'm not making it up. You always lead with the positive.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of reminds me of Nick Cirillo. Had him on the show, author of Slice of the Pie. I love that book, really underrated book, but he talks about the difference. You have to trust and track.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's a lot of trust in this organization. You promote from within. You
Right.
extend a lot of trust. You let people basically give them full control. Do whatever you have to do. Like, you're the boss.
Right.
I trust you, but you're back there every morning, 6:08.
Right.
You're tracking the numbers. And you only say something until you see an anomaly.
Right.
Like, okay, there's something going on here. Let's look closer.
Right.
And it's not like we're mad at you, but it's like, I appreciate everything you're doing, and we have to talk about this because there's something going on here. We have to figure out what.
Yeah. The one thing that I've done, the one thing I've grown as a CEO, is I communicate better. I communicate faster. I don't keep stuff inside me as much. I'm more prone to address this elephant in the room right away. And that was a conscious decision because I'm bad about that. I don't really like the confrontation. It's not my style.
Right.
But it's better to do it up front and get it out than to let it simmer.
Right. I'm loving this conversation, man. We're close to the end. I do like to talk about tech stack, like where you are today. It's really how I find future companies to promote and work with. I'm looking for data. So you're still with Brink.
Yeah.
What about General Ledger? Do they have a General Ledger accounting tied to Brink? I'm not really familiar with the platform.
Oh, no. They run on their own system. Yeah. I think we're still with Paylocity.
Paylocity?
Yeah. On
For accounting?
For the accounting stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about so you said the website, your IT guy did he design the website?
So we used an outside source, and it's one of the things I did when I took the company back is I found out our IT guy had majored in website design in college.
Okay.
So we got him involved right away.
Nice.
And he maintains it. We try and maintain everything in house. I don't like unnecessary fees, and I don't like people. If I'm trying to be more hands on.
Okay. Looking at the website now. What about any apps? I mean, you guys using loyalty or email? Like in terms of marketing, what does the tech stack look like?
So in terms of marketing, we've created our own email list, and we fish that out. Asking people for their email addresses and doing promotions online. That's how we garner it. And we have 2 marketing people that I hired a year ago. And they're all day long. What we're trying to do it's guerrilla marketing. There is nothing fancy here. We didn't bring any kind of service. What I wanted them to do is, we're still small enough. I don't want to pretend like we're freaking Domino's. We're not. And so if you can contact that high school next to this location and increase our sales by getting that high school involved, I want you to contact that high school. And if you need to drive to that high school and hand out gift cards to 1,500 students and give them a free milkshake, go do that. That's a great day you spent.
Yeah.
I don't need to be fancy.
Right. No, I think there's a lot of distractions in the world, frankly speaking. There's 2 approaches you can take. You can take the approach of being the best and putting everything into just doing the thing better than anybody else. I think that's the Pete Terry approach. Or you can put the energy into convincing people that you're the best or trying to stay top of mind by playing the game. Right. I think that you can do any one of those things, but I think there's a lot more integrity in choosing to be the best and letting your relationships and your work speak for you. I worry sometimes that that's not enough going into the future, where people might try to, invest in the labor and the quality of goods to be or do good work. But unless you're also an amazing marketer on top of that, it's not enough.
Right.
Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, I think it is if you let it. I mean, it's been really funny. We're in one of our locations is down the street from a church, and the church offered to send out something on they have a mailer that goes out to new people in the area, and they offered to put something in about Pete Terry's. And we went back and forth on this thing for weeks. And I kept saying, why are we still talking about this? And it's like, well, they want this and we want that. And I'm like, okay, I want to be that guy at that level. I want to be in that local church bulletin because that's who we are. And, and I want them to feel like we're part of this community. So I'm going to give you the space to work with them and the time to work with them. And then at some point it's okay, this is getting silly.
It's more about the relationship than the actual ad.
Yeah. And you've got, but it's really funny because by bringing them in and making it very clear from the start, I'm not looking for a fancy app. I'm not looking to hit 2 million people. What I'm looking for you is to call that church down the street or get in with that, we do a thing with churches and schools called Spirit Night. And on Monday and Tuesday, if you're at X high school and you're down the street from store number 5, we allow the band to have a fundraiser, at our store and give them 10% of the proceeds from that night. And my charge to them was go out and have as many Spirit Nights as you can at all of our stores and fill in Monday and Tuesday night, which are obviously our slowest nights, and bring the community to us and then share the profits with going back into that.
I love that.
Really simple.
Yeah.
And by the way, they sit there all day long contacting churches and schools. And that's what we do. We don't use a fancy.
Yeah, no, it's, I think what you're doing the basics, the most important things, connecting with the community, right? I think that's where we should be putting our effort, if anywhere, personally. I think we get distracted by putting it into other channels. I won't say what they are. But, I mean, you are active. I mean, you do the right things, but, you have an app, right? You got 31 followers on Instagram. You're on X, you're on Facebook, you're on LinkedIn. I know you're leveraging different tools for marketing that I'm aware of.
Right.
I won't make you say anything, but is there one that you recently invested in that's having, are you evolving into the 21st century in terms of being on digital presence?
we use our third party delivery service as marketing. I mean,
is that DoorDash or Uber
we
Eats?
we use them all.
Okay.
DoorDash, Uber Eats.
Is there been any struggles with that, or is it generally a positive experience?
No, it's been a positive experience.
People go back and forth in that one.
Yeah. I'm committed to serving our food at the lowest possible price. And right now a hamburger at P. Terry's is $3.10. And I want you to be able to buy a hamburger from me no matter, what level you are of income. And we have people who struggle, to come in and spend $8 at a P. Terry's. And I know that because I've seen them. And so everything we do is to do that. So when third party came along, I didn't increase my prices on the menu, and I started absorbing the fees. And then I realized I can't absorb these fees. The volume is gotten so good that
it's pulling away from your four walls business, right?
Yeah. And I'm starting to lose money because the fees are just, so I raised the prices on the menu items just to cover their fees. I don't take advantage of the fact that it's third party and I can maybe make extra money. I don't do that.
You're just offsetting costs.
Yeah, I'm just offsetting cost. And so when you come from that place, that's part of that customer loyalty and everything.
And having such a hyper 16, 18 locations in one area, you're going to get your burger in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's you have this distribution.
Right.
That's just so convenient.
And our app is great because our app actually we didn't raise our prices on our app. Our app are our same menu prices. And we're able to get that food delivered without those fees.
Yeah. So I want to make sure we wrap up on time. I am curious. I noticed that you started using Marquee. So how did Marquee land on your radar as a solution? And how are you using it?
That was strictly an IT's decision. I mean, they looked through all of them. What we're trying to do is get the most practical interface with our customer. We're looking for feedback in real time if we can get it.
Why is feedback so important?
Oh my God, because I first and foremost, I have to know if we have a serious problem at a location right then. and if if we have somebody that's all of a sudden the lines are going extremely slow, people aren't paying attention, and the food's not going out very quickly, or I've got a rude employee, I want to know right away. And there's a famous story that when we first opened that we used to use talk to the manager, and I got to talk to the manager that employee was being rude, and there were like 5 other people that could see the same thing I saw. It was probably a VP, area manager, the manager, and I pulled up first, and 3 other cars pulled up right behind me, and we walked in and took care of it right then.
Wow.
And unless you have that commitment, you probably can't work for me.
So why are you using, why Marquee for customer feedback? Why was that the solution?
I think we just looked at it overall that it served all of our purposes. I mean, we had the meetings, and I honestly let my IT guys make that call.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything we haven't gotten out before we say goodbye?
I think what I've learned over the last 20 years is the same thing I learned the very first year. I don't think things have changed that much. The business has gotten more complicated, mostly because I don't know what cost of goods are going to be tomorrow.
Right.
It's really uncharted territory sometimes. I can tell you that as we're talking right now, in April, that the price of chicken has doubled since January. And, we took I think a 2.8% price increase at the end of January, with an apology to all of our customers, as I told you earlier. And then you hold your breath that will be enough for the year.
Right.
And, we have 3 things that matter to us from COGS, and it's beef, chicken, and potatoes. Everything else is just last place. I mean, and so when you have your price of chicken double, and this is new.
Right.
This didn't happen 5 years ago.
Right. Yeah. It's a weird time for sure, and I worry for the independents. As it gets harder and harder, I worry. But I think the only way we're going to overcome it is by talking and sharing information, and choosing to go further together, and realize that we got to band together.
No, it's absolutely true, and I totally agree with you. I think I've said that I could not open P. Terry's today, under the headwinds, with what I knew and what I had, I couldn't open it today that I did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting on that patio, your grocer is charging you ridiculous prices. You've only got 1 unit. Frankly, they think you're about to go out of business. They're just going to get as much out of you as they can.
Yeah.
The assumption is you're going to be gone in a year. So who cares?
Right.
I think I went through 3 grocers in 1 year because I couldn't believe how unscrupulous.
Who's your supplier today?
PFG.
Okay.
And we have a wonderful relationship with PFG. Our vendors, that's just part of our culture.
Patrick, I could keep going with you, but I want to make sure we're at time.
I can keep going.
I only have a couple questions, but I wasn't sure if you had a meeting on the back end of this.
I'm glad to go.
Yeah. Okay, man. So a couple questions. What is one thing that's truly unstoppable about your business? A value, a system, a process that separates you from everybody else?
I can tell you that as long as I'm running this company, that I'm there for every one of my employees, and I'm there for every one of my customers, and the links that we go to every day show that that's what I do. The one thing that my wife and I have always agreed on, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, if the phone rings and it's about the business, I take the call.
I love it. The mission statement is to inspire, empower, and transform the industry. The way we're going to do that is by making an example of people like you, sharing your transformation, showing the people what is possible, giving people aiming points. But how have you personally transformed? Who are you today versus the man you were when you got into this industry?
My eyes are wide open. I didn't know what I was, in many ways I didn't know what I was getting into. I did and I didn't. I think what I've seen are the absolute goodness in so many of the people that work for us. And it's an inspiration for my wife and I, frankly, without sounding too corny. We really just see, I mean, I got to tell you, I was with my two maintenance guys yesterday, and I'm in the back seat. And one of them's driving, and I'm just sitting in. The other one's in the passenger seat. And the conversation that they had the entire time, going back and forth about where we were with fixing this and where we were with that, and that I just sat there and I thought, we are at a level here that I don't think I ever thought was possible, that they knew everything that was going on. And by the way, we call them tickets whenever someone has something needs to be fixed or whatever. There's over 100 tickets. It never goes below 100.
Right.
And these guys are going back and forth with absolute ease. And what I'm seeing is just this level of professionalism, and it's letting them do it. I don't pretend. I walk into an IT meeting. The first thing I say is, I'm not going to understand the damn words you guys are saying. So have at it.
Yeah.
And giving them the keys and saying, I trust you, and whatever you need, you let me know. And if anyone gets in your way, I'm going to stop. I'll be there for you. To watch that growth, and it's just something I couldn't imagine, because I was always the hands-on guy. And by the way, incompetent in many fields. I mean, I am the poster child for what the hell am I doing?
Well, I mean, I think that's the sign of a true leader is knowing what your role is and surrounding yourself with the people who are strong where you're weak, you know, and getting out of the way. And it's been a pleasure to make an example of you. This is the last question before we have you call somebody out. If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants would be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom that you could leave behind for the good of humanity and your legacy. What are those 3 pieces of wisdom?
I wouldn't keep score by how much money I had. I would wonder how many lives I had improved.
Is that 1 or 2? 2 things or 1?
2 things.
Got it.
Yeah, I would. I think people put way too much value on money, and I get it because I have it. I'm secure, and so I understand that. But once you're secure, then when it just becomes a game of counting how much I've got, and I found that. I lost interest in that fast.
And I think that's one of the core things I hope comes out in my work is that at the end of the day, what will make us happy is just security, basic security. We need security. We need to be seen and valued and loved by others. Yeah. We need to feel like we're growing personally, and we need to find our definite purpose in life. And most of all those things can happen without making millions of dollars. And with money, you can create more opportunity for people, and you can help other people achieve that security that you've achieved.
Right.
But that should be the goal.
Yeah.
That's conscious capitalism.
Yeah.
How do we do that? Yeah. How do I make more Pete Terrys of the world, man? Yeah. What's the final message? How do we do that?
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I think I'm very lucky. I mean, I had 2 great parents. I mean, I grew up with values, and I was always held to a higher standard because we came from a solid middle class home, and we wanted for little, but we understood that there were so many that didn't have that.
Yeah.
And so, I just got lucky from that standpoint. But I think, I think this, the second thing I touched on is, how many lives have I touched? But the third thing is really, it's just, It's the fact that I've gone my own way pretty much my whole life, and it's something I try to instill in my kids, that that I didn't have, I'm sorry, I'm grasping for the right words. I didn't really give a damn what other people felt or thought about me when I thought what I was doing was either the right thing or what I wanted to do. And so, when I got married at 45, it's because I wanted to get married at 45. I didn't care what anyone else was doing. I went to a hell of a lot of weddings. I wished them all well. I just didn't want to be married at the time.
Right.
I wanted to start a business. And, one of the reasons, Kathy and I are so well connected is that we're on the same level. And I would probably say my third thing is that I married the right person.
Yeah. I've had so much fun talking to you
Thanks.
again today. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time. 2 hours is a big ask, but I think it's in that time we really get to go deep and we really get to probe and understand and pull back layers. And I literally cannot do what I do without people like you, man. So
Well, you're nice to say that.
who's the next P. Terry that I need to talk to? Who's doing it right? Who is out there that we can learn from? Who has the values? Who's fiscally responsible? Who do you have in mind?
Tavel Bristol Joseph is an award-winning chef. He has several restaurants in Austin. He is just opened a concept in San Antonio called the Pullman Market. It is 40,000 square feet of retail and restaurants. It is maybe the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I saw it just yesterday. He is a hell of a man, and I believe his moral compass is in line with taking care of his people, but he takes it an extra step, and he is looking to produce a product with no waste.
Ooh.
And it is to watch him at work, and to watch. This thing is insane. So he has his butcher market where he's he takes the lard from the fat and transforms it to the tortilla.
Huh.
He takes the fruit that he sells that doesn't sell and freeze dries it and packages it, or puts it in his sorbet. He takes the coffee bean grinds and does something with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is absolutely self-sustaining.
Well, it's so refreshing to hear that, man. We live in a world where nearly 50% of all the food that gets produced is thrown away.
Yep.
And people are starving.
Yep.
It's like, what are we doing?
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. And, we look at, and it's one of the reasons our menu is the way it is. I don't want waste. I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. That makes me sick,
Yeah.
right? And to watch this company create this thing, it is absolutely unbelievable.
And that was Tavel Bristol Joseph.
Right.
Look out, man. I'm coming after you. I'd love to get you on the show. And I literally cannot do what I do without people like you, Patrick.
Well, thank
you
you
so much for taking the time.
It was fun.
There is no questioning, man. You are unstoppable.
Thank you.
Cheers.